Section86.com. We're changing the world of podcasting one show at a time.
86 Productions.
Take what you wanna take. Don't you leave me here. Lasting leap years ever. Your fear of the one and only love.
Hello and welcome to Off the Mark's 12th annual WrestleMania post show. You're in for a real treat tonight as we have Aaron, Doug, and Roger join Andrew as we discuss some matches and the outcomes of WrestleMania 37 and TakeOver as well. So, Aaron, let's just talk about the main event. It just got over with not that long ago. We had Roman Reigns taking on Edge, taking on Daniel Bryan. What happened here?
Yeah, so it's kind of amazing, but both Doug and I got this one right because, Roman Reigns pinned Edge, who was pinning Daniel Bryan. So technically, didn't both of them win? Isn't that how it works? I don't know, right? No. Anyway, though, the match itself, I enjoyed. I thought it was interesting. I like the fact that Uso was out there, that Jay was out there and attacked, and it was essentially like a 1-on-1 match. I thought that was pretty ingenious. The match was fine. I don't know if it felt like a WrestleMania main event, but it felt like a really good pay-per-view main event. But not every WrestleMania you go home happy. The main event, it's not always the good guy that's going to come out on top, because if it is, it's going to be very predictable. But the way they were building it up, Daniel Bryan winning, I think would have been really, really smart here. But they obviously have something in place, something planned for Roman Reigns going forward. At least that's what it seems like.
This was with Roman winning, I think, has the best outcome in the aspect of now Daniel Bryan and Edge can feud coming out of it. Each one of them costing, I guess, each other the chance at winning tonight. But there's a couple things that I've always realized with WrestleMania is you send the crowd home happy is one of the rules. And then two is there's rarely ever outside interference. And Jay really felt like the extreme outside interference to this match to a point where it's like, it didn't end any feuds. And that's what I expect out of WrestleMania. So a little bit down on this fight just due to the fact that it broke both those rules. I would have liked if Daniel Bryan won. I would have been happy with Edge winning and it being basically a straight up, the triple threat match where you have the hardcore stuff, but no outside interference.
Moment that they have tried to do with Roman 2 to 3 times before, and it fell flat. And they finally, as a heel, got the moment that Roman deserves now, which is he actually, based on his work since returning, he deserved to be in this spot. I have no problem with him winning. I actually don't even have a problem with him winning in almost a Reddit-like fashion where we always joked about, like, isn't that something that Roman will probably just knock out both guys and pin them? And that's what he did. He literally pinned both of his competitors, and he looked like a beast. Like, I have no issues with this. He continues to look like he's not Brock Lesnar dominant, but he is very clearly the alpha of the card, and I have no problem with that. I would have been fine with Bryan winning. That was the story I wanted. I would have been fine with Edge winning. I think Bryan and Edge will feud now to themselves. I think Roman should go on to bigger and better things and continue to, fight some other guys. I'd love to see, him and Cesaro. I'd love to see him and Big E. I think I even mentioned that. But I don't have a problem with this. I thought it was a good match. I don't think this was an epic match. This wasn't WrestleMania 31 with the triple threat where Steph interferes. This isn't WrestleMania 30 where Bryan gets his awesome moment. This is a solid match. It's better than last year's. It's certainly better than the 35 triple threat. But I liked the big fight feel. I thought this reminded me a lot of 31 in that it felt like all 3 of these people belonged and the crowd was into it. And it felt like we were watching WrestleMania.
Yeah, and overall, I was really happy with the match, not the outcome, but the match itself. I thought they set a lot of things up pretty well. The finish was, it was interesting how he, pinned 2 guys, but all right, whatever. So I don't know from what we're gonna do from Rowan from this point on, but anyways, the one thing that I was really happy about is on night 1 we had Bianca Belair take on Sasha Banks. And Roger, what was the outcome of this one?
We have a new SmackDown Women's Champion, and I thought Sasha was going to win, but this was absolutely the right call. WrestleMania is supposed to build stars, and Sasha Banks made Bianca Belair look like a star. That spot where she gorilla presses Sasha and walks up the stairs. My wife had walked in and watched it, and she was like, okay, that was amazing. Like, that is one of those things that even if you don't watch wrestling, you see something like that and you go, that is a display of power. I also absolutely loved the story they told with her long hair. Sasha kept using it and kept using it. Finally, Bianca had enough and whipped her, and that was one of the most loud smacks I heard all night. It was great. I thought they did a really good job with this match. I think they made a star, and that's one of the things they've struggled to do for a very long time. But they gave Bianca the moment she deserves, and good for them.
This is what I think you should have had. It was probably, I'm going to say, match of WrestleMania. This was a beautifully told story between both of them. You could see at points where both of them could have won. Like Roger said, when she finally smacked her with the hair, the mark that it left on Sasha Banks, seriously, wow. But great feel-good moment, too. You saw the whole family, and this is one of those aspects where the crowd really helped enhance the match itself, and everybody's cheering. Her family's there. Montez Ford runs out at the very end and gives her a big old hug and everything. So this was your very good feel-good moment after a classic match.
Yeah, and the crowd, that was one of the biggest things. Having the crowd there really made it so much better. And you could feel, even at the beginning of the match, you could see like she was crying, like she got those tears of joy, like realizing just what this moment meant. And I think that's great, and the moment that match was going on last, I was like, oh, all right, you know what? I had the wrong pick for this, like I just knew immediately. But even like during that, like when we were picking, Bianca is the right choice for that. But just like we're going to talk about in a little bit, it's WWE. So like when we're doing our picks, it's not necessarily about going what the most logical choice is. Sometimes it's like, you know what, maybe they're going to like try to hold it off for a little bit and then give her moment in like a couple pay-per-views from now. And when it's not as big, and luckily WWE didn't do that. So the match was very good. I wouldn't say it's my match of the weekend, but probably I would say maybe number 2, maybe number 3, but I'd say probably number 2 for me. It's very, very
well
good.
For WrestleMania. I think it's probably has to be number 1. It was either that or New Day taking on AJ and Omos. But anyways, I want to actually talk about another match that actually started off Saturday night. In a rain delay, Bobby Lashley took on Drew McIntyre, and everyone thought one thing: Drew McIntyre was definitely going to retain here because he needed that WrestleMania moment. So, Doug, what happened here?
This was great. Even though I picked Drew McIntyre to win, Bobby Lashley retains after having McIntyre pass out to the Hurt Lock, and he wasn't passed out long. I did notice that, but the setup to the finish was a little bit screwy too, and just the fact that I don't know if MVP was supposed to grab like Drew McIntyre's foot, but the quote unquote distraction that made him miss the Claymore, that was a little bit iffy on my part. But I enjoyed this match, and I have no problem with this outcome. This was, it makes Bobby Lashley look like a dominant champion, and helps set him up as an end boss.
Yeah, I agree, and it was the right call. Again, what we had talked about with our picks, it was like, Drew McIntyre, it would have been fine, but it was you have a better story that you're going to tell having Bobby Lashley win. And personally, Bobby Lashley is the champion of Monday night. If they play their cards right, they've been talking about it for years. Fans have wanted this. And like, if they are able to get fans at SummerSlam 2021 and you have Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, that would be money. That would be absolutely insane.
You don't do that.
And Bobby
Lashley,
Lashley,
though.
I mean, they could.
No, you would have to do that at WrestleMania because they would be. I think that would make better sense to do that at WrestleMania.
But there's big matches that happen at SummerSlam. SummerSlam is their, quote unquote number 2. It's number 2, number 3 pay-per-view.
It's number 3. Rumble's there too.
Yeah. So like that's where they have big matches. There are, partway through the year, that is where you have your second big matches. Is there?
So I've said many times, I didn't like the build in this. I thought they got this way and the wrong way. If this was a WrestleMania match, they shouldn't have had that match 2 months after McIntyre won the title at all. I didn't like that they used Miz as a transitional champion here. I thought Lashley should have simply just straight up beat him in the Elimination Chamber, and then this is kind of the second match. I think the right person won. I have no problem with Lashley winning. I think it was a good idea. I, in fact, think this should be the end of McIntyre on Raw. We talked about earlier, what should Roman do next? Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns was a great match at Survivor Series. I want to see part 2. And if that's at SummerSlam on SmackDown, great. This match kind of fell flat for me. The MVP distraction, I don't know if that was a miscue or that was just a poorly designed spot, but that it looked dumb. Like, he didn't even jump on the apron. He just, like, yelled from the outside. McIntyre sits there, and he's, like, looking for him to do something, and then he just turns and misses the Claymore. I was like, that's it? That's all it takes to distract a guy in a championship match? I was like, that's weak. Finish was fine. He patches on the hurt lock. McIntyre doesn't look weak. I don't know. This match just didn't hit for me. There's a certain way I like a big guy match. Brock versus Roman 31, right? Just a brutal affair where they beat the crap out of each other. This just kind of seemed like a good Monday Night Raw match. And this did not feel like a WrestleMania main event. I'm glad it wasn't a main event. I'm kind of surprised it went first, because usually the first match is like get the crowd excited and have the babyface win and we're all happy. But it was fine. This didn't feel like a WrestleMania match. It didn't come out like a WrestleMania match, but I'm glad Lashley won.
And probably another one of the biggest matches we had Asuka taking on Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. And in this case, we all guessed it. Rhea came out on top of that. So that's just one of those things. Doug, do you have anything to say about this match?
Not really. I mean, this was by design. Everything went by design. I thought it was a really good match. It's just I think they kind of set it up perfectly, where it was like once Rhea got the big entrance with the singer, I was like, oh, well, yeah, she could win. But then this was right after Big E also had a big entrance from a singer and then lost. So it was kind of a like, wait a minute, which one are they going to do? So it was a good match, solid match, and look forward to see what Rhea Ripley does in the future.
Yeah, congratulations to Asuka to having to put over another woman on the roster. So
What? Asuka putting someone over? No, never.
But, I thought they had some missed opportunities here, too, because they could have had Kairi Sane come out and do something, but, And the other thing, I was ticked about this. I really thought that we were going to see KO jump off the pirate ship. I was a little disappointed we didn't see that. But, what can be said? Aaron, were you excited to see your boy Logan Paul?
It's funny. I was going to say he's your boy because I actually, I abdicated my responsibility for Logan. So Andy, it is all yours now. All right. With that said, they're trying to get some views. Logan Paul is, I guess, somewhat popular on YouTube. That's not necessarily my domain, but he's popular enough, and he took a stunner, and the crowd was booing him, so they were pretty happy when he took the stunner. I mean, I guess that's something.
I can't believe that he took it the way he did. I thought he was going to be dead, but whatever. But anytime you can slap a punk like that, I would do it.
I'm going to quote Kevin Owens. I don't care about Logan Paul.
Yep.
What about Cesaro taking on Seth Rollins? What did you think about that one, Roger?
Good match, which is to be expected between those two. Very surprising. When you look at the way that their careers have gone, Seth Rollins is one of the golden boys of the company, has been showered in gold. Meanwhile, Cesaro has not. He's been a tag champion a bunch of times. I think he may have had a U.S. title run once back in the day. But this finally felt like, maybe Cesaro is going to get that push that we've been waiting for. And maybe it does. Maybe it leads to something greater. I'm glad that he beat Seth in a really good match. I enjoyed the swing. He's always been over. The only thing I think that's always hurt Cesaro is that he's not a good talker. His promo game is subpar. If only there was some way that they could compensate for that by having some sort of method, or maybe if he had like an old partner who was pretty good on the microphone, who doesn't have necessarily a great look. He's a little chubby around the midsection, but is a great talker, and they have a history. They would have been able to actually, hide him. We need a hero in this scenario. But
are you talking about me? Is that what you're saying? Like,
Are you Cesaro's former partner? Did you guys run together back in the day?
We did, yeah.
Did you abandon him the way you abandoned Andy in the last tag match, or did you actually back Cesaro up?
Well, we're not talking about that right now.
Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think Cesaro has all the talent in the world. I really hope he gets the push, but he's going to need somebody to talk for him, whether it's an underused superstar, a female valet, a manager, whatnot, because for all of the in-ring talent that he has in the E, you got to be able to talk, and he's a mediocre talker, and that's probably generous.
Yeah. So, Doug, do you have anything to say do you think that we hit the right thing with Seth putting over Cesaro in this match?
It's all been said. I just a little shocked due to the fact that you had Money Boy Seth Rollins and actually puts over Cesaro for once. So maybe he has finally grabbed that brass ring.
Well, we know Shane McMahon has. I mean, he had to put over Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman needed that one, right? Right, Roger?
Had to put him over, yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah, he had to.
He's the best wrestler in the world, I heard.
Yeah, I'll give Shane McMahon one thing. He took a bump, and I don't think they did anything special because it just looked like he just hit the ring. But he wasn't up that much higher, so there's that.
He jumped though, like he was at the top. It was, like how sometimes where they say like, oh, it came from the top, but it's like, well, but he's sitting there and he like kind of like, slightly jumped off. It's like it's slightly better, right? Like it's not like it's great. It's slightly better. Shane McMahon jumped from the top and flipped. So like, and it did not look like there was extra padding there. That was a bump. I said to Doug, like, I'm 38 years old and I wouldn't have taken that bump 20 years ago. Like you would have to pay me a lot of money to take that bump. And Shane McMahon is like 10, 15 years older than me. Like that was pretty nuts. And
a lot richer.
That is true. That's true.
Like the thing that also is weird to me for a guy who is like, look, Shane McMahon can never do a thing and he's set for life. If this guy is taking bumps that, I mean, he could have very easily landed the wrong way, and that's serious damage. Like that, he's not. I know he's trained, but he's not a guy who wrestles more than once a year, once every other year. I don't know when the last time he's wrestled. But boy, I didn't give a crap about this match. Like, if you would have said my excitement level from 1 to 10, I would have given you a 0. And this somehow failed to meet that level of excitement. Like, I just wanted it to be over. I fast forwarded through. It just sucked. I don't see what anyone gained from this. Does Braun Strowman look more intimidating that he beat a winded old Shane McMahon? Do I come out thinking as a fan like, wow, this guy's really awesome. He beat up the boss's son. Like, cool. Did Riker and Elias, or was it Riker and Elias that attacked him? Like, everything about this was dumb. There was no need for this. This belongs on Raw. This does not belong. This probably belonged on Main Event. This does not belong on WrestleMania. This was stupid. And this isn't even close to the dumbest thing they did all night, but this was stupid.
I will say, if you Frankensteined night 1 and 2 and you took the best matches and, you were able to like position it correctly in the card, because, you do have to, you can't just have, great match after great match. If you did position it correctly, like WrestleMania would have been like a fantastic show, like WrestleMania 37. You have 4 hours of like really great matches. This one would have been cut. It's, like you said, it would have been on Main Event. That's where it would have been, for sure.
The pre-show.
Yeah.
And, we got to give, I think we got to give credit to one thing about especially on night 1, we had a superstar for the first time coming and being represented in a tag match with AJ Styles. And he just came in and just tore it up. Doug, you want to talk about him?
This makes AJ Styles a Grand Slam champion, giving him the tag titles. So congratulations to AJ for accomplishing that feat. And welcome along Amos for the ride, I guess.
How do you look in the ring, Aaron?
Well, he looked like, Roger will tell you who he looked like in a moment. But Andy, I got to ask you because, a lot of people, they have, their posse. And apparently posse, which I know that you're a fan of and you're part of. So, Andy, are you an Homo sapien?
Oh, my God.
All right. So, yeah, Roger, what was the nickname you gave him again?
Oh, you mean the Black Khali? Yeah, nothing about
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, sure. If you thought that he was going to come in and do anything other than this, you have not been watching wrestling long enough. This is literally exactly what I expected him to do, which is he was going to be, and let me say, I give New Day credit. I also would have given this match a 0 on my expectation level. And New Day did a great job of flipping the dynamic. They basically wrestled like heels, despite being the clear baby faces. They cut off the ring. They put AJ as the heel in peril, which is not something you can do very easily. The crowd was 100% behind New Day. And when AJ finally made the tag, the crowd did cheer because they wanted to see it, but you knew the match was over. Like at that, it was basically the New Day is dead. They just don't understand it yet. And he destroyed them. Let me say one thing. The ending. I get it. I have no problem with almost looking strong. But there are 2 members of New Day. Did you really have to pin the guy who won the world championship 2 years ago with 1 foot? Like, isn't that something you can do to Xavier Woods and nothing of value is lost? And I love Xavier. I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm just saying one of them is a surefire Hall of Famer, former WWE champion, has been decorated with gold. I don't think Xavier's ever won singles gold. I don't think his career is hurt at all by getting pinned 1 foot by Omos. It's like, just switch that order around and you would have been fine. This is very Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels. This, Omos most certainly is the big guy. I'm looking forward to their inevitable split when AJ gets mad and slaps him across the face and almost chokeslams him to hell. But this tag run will be fun. AJ is entered that Kurt Angle territory where he is a dork, and it's awesome because he's still better than you in the ring. Like, it's one of those things that he looks goofy, he does stupid stuff, he has a bit of a Karen haircut, and yet, despite all of that, he will out wrestle you in that ring and run circles around you. I mean, that phenomenal forearm off of Omos was pretty cool looking, and they're going to be a good team. Like, as long as they use that formula, let AJ do 90% of the work and let Omos come in and do exactly what he needs to do, that's totally fine. Also, when AJ drops a no Omo line, I'm going to go crazy.
So, Andy, are there any other matches that you saw?
Yeah,
that you want to go
we
with?
need to talk about. We need to talk about one of the matches of the night. And match of the night has to go to Bad Bunny taking on The Miz. The Bad Bunny decides to actually do a good job, but if it wasn't for The Miz just selling properly, making him look like $1 million, I mean, this is nothing. So kudos to The Miz for again tearing it up on WrestleMania and having to put over someone because he is just the most underrated superstar. Period.
I got nothing.
I know another match that we need to talk about that we haven't talked about yet. And I'm going to say this. I should have known better. I said it in our predictions. I've said it because I've said before, when there is an opportunity to cut Bray Wyatt off at the knees, the WWE will never miss. How on earth did Bray Wyatt lose this match? Like, someone please make sense to me of this. How did The Fiend and Wyatt lose to Orton in a match where he had already been, I believe, burned alive back in December? So this was essentially the revenge. This is the babyface making his big triumphant return. Like, is Randy Orton channeling Triple H? Am I missing something here? Like, Bray Wyatt will always be a bridesmaid forever and ever.
My question on this match is, remember when Seth Rollins was fighting The Fiend and he had to do like 13 curb stomps in order to pin him? Randy Orton did 1 RKO in this match. 1, and that was enough for the pin.
When that happened and I was like, oh no, that 3's coming down. It was like, when Randy Orton set him on fire, right? And then you had Alexa Bliss pin Randy Orton in their match, which was just like, okay, they're doing that to set up him versus Bray Wyatt. This is that, like, we're setting this up. We know what the outcome is going to be. You don't have to subvert expectations. It's just like Dan Bryan winning at 30. That was going to happen, right? You didn't have to do anything crazy. And this is Bray Wyatt's going to win. He's going to go on and be this mega heel. This is what you do. This is what you're supposed to do. And I don't know if they're trying to have it go further or what the plan is for Orton. I'm not interested in it. I don't think that. I think that this just, I think as Roger had said, like just kneecapped him. This just makes Bray Wyatt, instead of that Undertaker like phenomenon, it just makes him a like boogeyman, and in 10 years he's gonna be doing fun little skits. I'm the Fiend, I'm gonna eat worms. Like this is I don't know if I take that back. I have been more disappointed in them. I haven't been more disappointed in them in the last 5 months. How about that? I will say that much. Than them having Bray Wyatt lose here.
Alexa looked cool though.
She did, yeah.
She did. You guys want to hear a fun stat? Let's talk about Bray Wyatt real quick. And I know, wins and losses aren't WWE's things. Here's Bray Wyatt's record at WrestleMania. John Cena at WrestleMania 30. Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. I believe he didn't wrestle. His buddy got pinned in 6 seconds. 33, he lost to Randy Orton. 34, he wasn't there because I think he was hurt. 35, I don't believe he wrestled. I don't think he was on the card. 36, I guess he won. I don't know. I don't know how you count the Firefly Funhouse. That was an experience. And then he lost to Randy Orton. So over the last 7 years, the only win he's gotten was a alternate dimension match against a guy who John Cena's long since retired. Is this the next Undertaker? Because
this is the next streak.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, is this like a running gag? Is the point that Fiend doesn't care about winning matches? And to Doug's point, Seth Rollins had to kill him to stop him, but Goldberg can jackhammer him, and by jackhammer, I mean ugly vertical suplex. And Randy Orton can RKO him one time. Like, I don't believe he hit a second RKO or a punt or a stomp or a concerto or a sledgehammer. Just one RKO. And look, I thought it was a kick out. I looked away. I didn't even believe that match was. I was like, oh, this is just going to be a kick out, and then he's going to mend. We'll call him. Oh, nope, that's it. He pinned him. It was just like before at 33. One RKO, pins Bray Wyatt, game over.
Yeah, so I guess is that the story of WrestleMania though? I don't know. I was overall happy with the show. Doug, I'm curious. As a show overall, what did you think of it?
I think I called it a little bit right. And the fact that it was one giant loop. It went up and up with NXT, and then down and down with WrestleMania. Surprisingly, I think I enjoyed night 1 way better than I did night 2. So this was it just kept going right down.
I believe I set my expectations at a 3. I don't know that they met those expectations. I think there were some good moments for sure. Bianca winning is a great moment. Rhea Ripley getting her moment was a good moment. But there was far too much irrelevant and a bit too much bad. Even the main event. I actually enjoyed Braun win in such a dominant fashion. I thought it was well done. But this card didn't feel special. It didn't feel like WrestleMania. It didn't feel like the Super Bowl of wrestling. It felt kind of more like Monday Night Raw. Like this, nothing about this would I tell a non-wrestling fan, hey, you need to watch this. Like there is, other than maybe Sasha versus Bianca, there's nothing from this that we will look back and say, this is a must-see, the way that Ronda Rousey's debut at 34. Got to see that match. That was awesome. If you talk about WrestleMania 30, hey, you need to see Bryan win the title. That's a moment. Heist of the Century, 31. 32, the women's triple threat. There's always that one match that you go back and say, you absolutely must watch that. I don't think this night had that. And he didn't have that special moment. The feel-good moment of Bianca winning was great. But I don't know. It was there. And by the end of it, I was like, yeah, that was okay. But it wasn't special. And it suffered from really, really poor build. And truth be told, the storylines going into this night were ranging from average to pathetic. And it suffers. It matches. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in NXT. When you have a good story and you have a good build, the match is always better. And when you don't have that, you put a limit on how good your night can be. And like I said, this failed to meet my very low expectations.
And so I'm in agreement with Doug. I expected night 2 to be way better. And so when I said I expect a 3 and a 6, for night 1 than night 2. And night one met those expectations. Is probably like a 4, but night two, you had such good possibilities with the matches that were there, and it didn't meet any of them. The best match of night two, I think, probably was the triple threat, the main event, and that, like I said, I mean, that's it was a good other pay-per-view ender. That's the main event for TLC. That's the main event for Backlash. That's that was a really good ending. That's not a WrestleMania main event. I think the best match personally for me, I really liked Cesaro and Seth Rollins match. That's probably my match of the weekend. From those two. But that also was that was a very good Raw main event. That'd be a good second, main event for, Backlash, right? That's the lead up to the main event. That wasn't the match. And so, unfortunately, like Roger said, I would not tell somebody you got to see this year's WrestleMania, or you have I would say that's the best match, but that's not a must see.
Oh, wait, you said over the weekend?
I think he means
weekend.
of WrestleMania.
WrestleMania
Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
The
All
weekend, yes.
All right. I just wanted you to clarify that. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Not the singer of the weekend. Not
Yes.
the guy who sang.
No.
Yeah. No, and Andy, let me ask you, because your expectations, you said you were at a 5 or 6. Did they meet that? Did they just not meet it?
Night one hit it. That was pretty good moment. Oh gosh, was AJ almost was night one, because I just crapped on that. I was laughing so hard. Such a bad match. And all the botches and mortar malfunctions, of course, in the women's tag match, which still didn't make sense to me. But Bad Bunny has impressed me. I will say that. I don't say, hey, continue, but the fact that he worked hard and actually looked good, especially with Damian Priest being injured, I'll give him credit on that one. I think that I have to do that. So, but yeah, overall, it was WrestleMania, and we're doing our show, and I'm like, let's talk about TakeOver now. So let's talk about NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver 2-night event on. You could watch it on Peacock both nights if you wanted to, or you could watch it on USA with commercials. So of course I watched on Peacock. Then of course night 2 is exclusively on Peacock and WWE Network if you're elsewhere. So let's just talk about it. At first, should we talk about the main event? What do you think, Aaron?
Sure. Yeah. So Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. The match was fine. I don't think I really care for unsanctioned matches. Because we watch AEW and NXT, and you have Raw and SmackDown. Unfortunately, you are going to get matches that on WWE TV doesn't happen that often. But if between the 3 or 4, you will get them a little bit more often. And we've had unsanctioned matches recently with AEW. So I don't know. It was fine. I think I would have had this, be the lead up to the main event. I think I had too high of expectations for this match news with it. Is I was expecting this to be like a 10, and it was probably like an 8, which is good, but it didn't hit my 10.
I agree with Aaron in the fact that this is one of those things. It's just the lead up to it was just so great. And then I think I also kind of had a little bit of an issue where I had to go to work, so I missed the last 5 minutes of the match and didn't get to see the outcome. But when I read about it and then eventually saw it, I was like, okay, it's kind of what I predicted it to happen and everything like that. So it, again, by the numbers match and did what it was supposed to do, and Kyle O'Reilly went over so that they can fight again later. But Andy, I'm kind of more curious about how you feel about this match due to the fact that you were the only one to pick Adam Cole, baby.
I really, 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 really thought that some way, somehow, Adam would sneak his way into winning, or that maybe someone would help him win. That's what I really thought was going to happen. But in this case, I should have listened to you guys. If it's unsanctioned, that basically whoever is the more popular guy has to put over the one guy, because then he can turn around and at some point later on he could say, "You never beat me. It was unsanctioned. Let's make it a real match," or whatever. So I do like that aspect of it. But yeah, it was good. I really have no complaints. Roger, did you think that Adam? Do you think Adam actually did a great job, actually just letting Kyle look good in this?
Okay, so Aaron made a point that I think is very true for me as well. My expectations were too high. I came into this as hyped as I was going into Ciampa versus Gargano from about 3 years ago, and this really wasn't that. And I mentioned this before. We talk about why story matters. When you look back and you think about what Ciampa did to Gargano, turning on him when they were a face tag team, it was the betrayal of the century. We'd seen the logo that came from, and it really felt like I want to see Gargano beat the absolute crap out of Ciampa. And then Ciampa goes away, and Johnny's dealing with the DIY stuff, and he finally gets the title shot, and then he gets stabbed in the back. So we got a solid 9 months worth of build for a great match. And the match was basically perfect. I think I had it as my match of the year that year. It was outstanding. We kind of fast forward now to Kyle O'Reilly and Cole. And yeah, Cole turned on him, but the Undisputed Era were still heels. Like, they were playing tweeners, but Cole has always been a heel. He's a bad guy. And bad guys turning on other bad guys doesn't hit the same way as when two good guys, one of them stabs the other one in the back. And then, unfortunately, Kyle O'Reilly, for as great as he is in the ring, should never be put in a position where he needs to promo Adam Cole one-on-one. That is the biggest mismatch you will ever see. And when they did that sit down at the top of the stage, and you listen to Adam Cole speak with such passion and conviction, and everything he said was right. Kyle O'Reilly was acting like a sidekick. He was trying to recruit Finn Balor, and he's shaking his hand, talking about, I respect you. You're a great champion. Adam Cole is like, that's not who we are. That's not what we do. We go in there, we beat people up, we do what it takes to win, and now you want to be all nice and soft. And it's not even like your method is working. Like, you're losing title matches, and you're just like, well, that's cool. I came away from that promo thinking Adam Cole is 100% right, despite the fact he kicked you in the face and tried to end your career, because everything he's saying sounded believable. And Kyle's like, well, I became a better person. I don't care. Cool, but big deal. Like, that's just a dumb reason for you guys to be feuding. And the match, look, it was good. It was a bit too self-indulgent. It just felt 10, 15 minutes too long, kind of like what you used to say about Triple H's matches at Mania. This was a 35-minute match that probably could have been 20 to 25 minutes. I didn't love the chain spots around the knee. Like, that just seemed really convoluted and stupid to me. Like, he at one point, I know he wraps it around and starts doing the kicks, and I'm like, this is dumb. And then he did the big knee drop, and I was like, boy, I hope he doesn't give himself not enough slack and just get snatched out of the air when he comes down. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't bad. Like, the right guy won. I 100% am glad that Kyle went over. But, when Ciampa and Gargano did this, there was such an emotion from the crowd, right? Ciampa got the most heat I'd ever heard without music. He came out and the whole crowd wanted to rush the ring and kill him. Like, you wanted to see Johnny win more than anything that mattered, and it was a moment. When Kyle O'Reilly won, it was just kind of like, okay. Like, it was fine, but it didn't evoke any emotion. The crowd was not really all that into Kyle O'Reilly. Like, I think Aaron and I watched TakeOver New York, and at first, Cole gets cheered over Gargano. Like, it's very apparent that the crowd loves Cole, and Johnny within 10 minutes wins them back. And by the time they're getting to that final fall, the crowd is going crazy for Gargano. O'Reilly never really won that crowd over. Like, they were always kind of cheering for Cole. I think really my favorite moment of the night was when the referee got in Cole's face and Cole smacked him out of the way. It's like, this is unsanctioned. I can do what I want. And it was, Adam Cole came away looking like the more logical player here. And it was just like, it wasn't bad, but my expectations were too high for what they were trying to do with this match.
All right. Yeah. So in all, I would, to me, this was not match of the weekend, but it was, let's just say it was. But yeah.
So you liked it that much, that was your favorite match of the 2 nights for NXT? Because obviously the NXT, far and above, the vast majority of those matches are going to be well above the WrestleMania matches.
Well, yeah. Overall, I think that was probably, that one I really liked. Overall, I thought that I really like what Ciampa did with Walter, because Walter, very, very impressive. And that's the whole point. Of course, now NXT UK, they're back. So
I will say I had lower expectations going in, which I think probably helped out. Sometimes going in with low expectations. Obviously with the reverse with the main event there. I was expecting them to kind of a mismatch of styles, and I don't think I should underestimate what not just Ciampa, but even Walter can do. You know, what he was able to sell for Ciampa and make Ciampa look really good. That's, you know, that to me, if anything else, that says like, oh, this is a guy that, you know, you put him on Raw or on SmackDown. Hopefully he never goes there. But if you happen to, he could go against somebody like an AJ Styles, for example, as a heel and make AJ look even better than what he is. And that's a good thing. That's actually like, that made me say like, oh, I already like Walter, but like he can do even better. But yeah, the match was definitely really good. I wouldn't say this was my match of the night. You know, I don't know if we'll get to it because there were a lot of matches. We don't need to talk about all of them. But Roger, I think that on the call or on the show last time, yeah, I think you said you were really hyped for this match.
I was. Both of these guys are excellent. I love both of them, and they met my expectations. They exceeded it, actually. I think this match was better than even I thought it might be, because I was also a little bit concerned this could be a mismatch of styles, and yet I think they meshed perfectly. I think everyone knew Walter was going to win, but it was a matter of how would they get to that ending, and it was really good. One of the things I love about Walter is that he doesn't have a like clearly defined finisher. He can beat you in about 4 different ways, and all of those moves look nice. Like they're simple but effective. So when he hits you with a power bomb, it could be the end. The false finish feels real. When he hits you with that burning lariat, that could be the end. When he hits you with that choke out, it could be the end. I believe he won this match and he won it with like a chop or something like that, like a running, and which also could be the end. So it's like his matches just have that feel of you have no idea what is going to happen. And I enjoyed every moment of this. I think Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are probably the 2 most valuable pieces in NXT. And the reason is you can move them up and down the card as necessary and get a great match out of nearly everyone. And they're versatile, right? Like if you know anything about chess, they're like the queens, right? You can move them around and do exactly whatever you need to do, and they fit everywhere. They can go up and down. They can go left and right. Ciampa and Gargano both play good heels, but they both play good faces. I really enjoyed this match. I hope Ciampa never leaves. Like he will never be utilized as well as he's utilized here. And as far as Walter goes, he continues to be the most dominant champion in the entire company, and that's fantastic. Really fantastic.
There's not much more I can add. I just thought Walter looked dominant in this match, while also having Ciampa be believable in the aspect that he could beat him. So 2 great wrestlers going at it. Had a great match and enjoyed every minute of it.
Next, we had Io take on Raquel Gonzalez, and I was, I think we pretty much were in agreement on who was going to win, but I'm still kind of curious, Aaron. Did you think that at least Io was able to make her look good?
Yeah, and Raquel, they built her up as a monster, and this was the one match that she's had where I was like, okay, it could go either way, but it's made for Raquel to get that win and have Io potentially go to a Raw or SmackDown. The one thing, and it's the same thing with the men's main event, the men's NXT title match, is who do they have lined up? Like, do they have somebody in mind who is going to be the one to take that person down? Because like with the men's, you have to have a very dominant person to take that title away. And, Raquel, if you look at her, she's nearly 6 feet tall. She's like 5'10", 5'11", and she towers over the other women. I want to say they have her billed at 5'1", and she is a lot bigger than her. So you have to have somebody that's going to be dominant enough to take that away. And you don't have Rhea Ripley down there anymore. That'd be one that I would potentially think of, but she's obviously on Raw. So do they have somebody in line for that? And maybe they're not thinking about it yet. Maybe she's going to have a 300-day run with the title. I don't know. But it was a good match, and it was very serviceable and did what it needed to do.
Really, the reason I picked Io to retain is that I just didn't think that there was anybody next in line for her. And I thought Raquel Gonzalez is the type of woman with her size and intimidating presence and the type of women they have up on Raw and SmackDown, whether it be Bianca, Rhea, Shayna, Nia, Tamina, right? The large women are on Raw and SmackDown. So you can send Raquel up there and have believable opponents. Whereas if I look at the women down at NXT, I don't know that they have anyone who's built up and believable who could, Ember Moon, I guess you could build her up to take her on because Ember is a former NXT champion. Toni Storm's a heel right now. It's just, I feel made her look good. And to be honest, when they had Stephanie with that, to change my pick, like I'm wrong. Like % I know Io's losing now because she's gone. I'm sure Io and Asuka will be called up in the Kabuki Warriors Part 2 now. It was fine. The one thing that surprised me was the pop that she got. When she won, the crowd seemed quite excited. I don't know if that means a face turn. I saw, at least from what I recall, I remember seeing them actually like cheering for her. So maybe her and Dakota split at some point. I don't know. But I think if we were to discuss the lineage of the NXT Women's Championship, Raquel is definitely towards the bottom as far as talented wrestlers to hold the title. That doesn't mean she can't get better. She's just, I would say that she's okay. She's not, and she's not a great promo. So what are we doing with this?
I mean, but when you think about that, look at all the NXT Women Champions. When you think about it, you have Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Bayley.
No, Becky.
Huh?
Not Becky.
Not Becky.
Oh, that's right. Becky didn't. You're right. That's right.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, not yet. She might come back and do that. But yeah.
Bianca Belair never won it either.
Now, Doug, do you want to talk more about that match, or do you want to go straight into the men's?
Let's go to the men's.
All right. What did you think about that? Because I know you and I were the only ones that picked Karrion Kross to win this.
I picked Karrion Kross to win in a smash match and just dominate Finn Balor, and it almost felt like the absolute opposite in the fact that it seemed like Balor just dominated the whole match, and then Karrion Kross just took all the offense that Balor had and finally finished him off and became the new NXT Men's Champion.
Now, Roger, you had very sound logic. Definitely agreed with it. With them calling up, do you think that they are going to call up Finn, or is this going to be longer, a little bit stretched out a little bit more between Karrion and Finn?
I think their program is over, but I don't think Finn goes back to Raw or SmackDown like that. That just didn't work. It was very clear that Finn was unhappy. They didn't know how to use him. He was smiling Irish guy up on the main roster wearing stupid red trunks. So logically, he belongs in NXT. He should probably be there for life as long as he's with the company. This match was interesting. I think it was a good match, but I have some qualms with it. For one, Finn dominated this match. Like, this was very much like a old school Hogan match. Hit his stuff and then game over. And like at the very end, I get what they were going for with like the emotion and the range, but that level of no selling, where basically he went from almost out to just snapping and just beating Balor to a pulp with those strikes, and I was like, why? Like, where did that come from? That was odd. It was just, I don't know. Something about that finish didn't gel to me. It's almost like they had a match planned out and then they put together a finish that didn't seem to go with the same match. And it was okay. I didn't hate it, but I don't know that I like Kross as champion. He hasn't put on that match to me that makes me go, oh, this is one of the top guys in the world. And I just thought Finn Balor as your flag bearer is a much better move going forward, especially if he goes over Kross. He gives him the first loss. And I don't know, Finn Balor versus Walter, to me, two dominant champions with Walter saying, hey, I want to see if I can be the first guy to hold both at the same time. That's a much more interesting program to me. Because now, yeah, if Balor goes and challenges, have the same allure and same luster as if, you had two champions at the top of their game going at it. And yeah, we'll see. I thought Karrion Kross was ready for the main roster. And maybe it'll be a quick thing like Keith Lee. He loses it in a few months and he goes up. But I don't know. I'm not sold on Kross just yet.
I actually think that's probably what's going to happen. I actually could see Finn taking the title from him,
As
given
like the demon.
As the demon, in a couple months, at their next main event or the next pay-per-view, and then Karrion just, pieces out. And, he was dominant on NXT. He got the title back. He's in one of the few 2 times, but then Finn becomes the only 3 time. It's a special accolade. So that could potentially happen. Now, there's only a few more matches, but Andy, I think one that would be interesting to highlight was the tag match, which was my personal match of the probably of the entirety of WrestleMania week. I would say was MSK versus the Grizzled Young Veterans versus the I'm gonna mess it up, but Fantasma. I'll just say that.
Legado de Fantasma.
Yes. Thank you, Roger, for that. MSK won, a very emotional win for them. They were super excited about it, and I felt really happy for them. I think quality wise is probably my favorite match of the weekend. Andy, what say you?
I don't agree. And this is why, and it's a weird reason. that match did not look like an NXT match. It looked like a AEW match. That's the only way I can explain it. And I think that's why I was disappointed, because it's like, it was, to me, it was fast paced, but I thought they didn't take that time to like really like sell certain things. So that's my beef with it. I mean, it was a great match, and like, and this is me also nitpicking it as well, but overall, I thought that it was just, I mean, you basically had, 3 teams just go at it, and on free TV too. So can't say anything bad about that.
Roger, is there any other matches you want to talk about before we wrap things up?
Gosh, just off the top of my head, I don't know that this is. There is one match: Gargano versus Bronson Reed.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for the tag match, I would actually have that match as my match of the weekend, of the entire 4 nights. I thought it was fantastic. Bronson Reed over the 2 nights. He survived the Gauntlet Eliminator. I think he came in 3rd and still was able to win. I was shocked. Like, I had Loomis winning because Loomis and Gargano had been feuding, for months. So, a good way to subvert expectations. I thought this made Bronson Reed look like a monster, the way that he survived those 3 house calls from Swerve Scott. And then the next night it took, Johnny basically had to pull everything out of the arsenal to beat him. It made Gargano look great, strong champion. I loved the fact that he hit 2. It was a really good story of colossal babyface versus, annoying jerk heel who did everything he needed to do to retain his title. But instead of him doing the, I'm going to cheat via low blow, I'm going to cheat via, whatever dusty finish they do on the main roster, quote unquote, he just beat him. He just dug deeper and found a way to spike his head into the ground twice. And I loved it. That's the way I want title matches to be. It is okay for a babyface to lose and still come out looking good. That's how I want Intercontinental and United States Championship matches to look as well.
And how about you, Doug?
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely want to touch on this one just due to the fact that I think this one benefited too from low expectations to, wow, this is a really, really good match. And to have Gargano win, I don't think hurts Bronson Reed whatsoever. I think both guys are kind of elevated by this in the aspect that Bronson Reed looked good against a legit champ, being Gargano, and they can always fight again later, or when Gargano loses it to somebody else, Bronson Reed could fight for the NA title again. It doesn't bury him at all, and he still has also the fallback in the fact that he had to wrestle twice in 2 nights, so you kind of save him that way too. So good match. Definitely, I think the surprise match of the whole weekend. But it was just solid stuff from Johnny Takeover.
The one thing I will say is I actually kind of like that we didn't know who was going to be his opponent, and I almost kind of hope that they do this every year, where you have like some match IC US where they don't have a particular opponent, and then that way the hype is actually then right before. You don't have like build up to it, and so that way it's a surprise where, as you guys said, it could be a fantastic match that you didn't expect. Andy, any other last matches that you want to go over?
Nope, I think that's actually going to do it for our special again for this year. So we talked about 12th annual special. Usually we also throw in something about Hall of Fame in one of them, but we don't need to because really nothing happened with that. So there is that. Maybe we'll get Bautista next year, but overall, yeah. So thanks guys for coming on and doing the show tonight, and that's all the time we have for this special. If you're into Twitter, you can follow the show at AllTheMark86. I want to thank 86 Productions for hosting and editing the podcast, and I want to thank all of our listeners for taking the time to download and listen to the show. And for Doug Hahn, Roger Cave, and Aaron Hughes, I am Andrew Hughes, and until next time, we'll see you in the ring.